A pleasant and very happy Wednesday to all of our friends out there in CPAC Live Land. I know you were expecting to see our chairman, Matt Schlapp, anchoring the studio desk here in Washington, D.C., but we have a big surprise for you, folks. Matt Schlapp is out there on the road, and we're going to toss to him in just a moment. He is on the Trump campaign bus with a very special guest, but I don't want to blow the surprise. Matt, can you say hi to our CPAC community here and tell us where you are and who you're with?
Well, I don't know what Matt you're talking to because I'm here with another Matt. This is Matt Schlapp, obviously, and I'm here with the great former acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker. How you doing, Matt?
One and only. Thank you. I'm doing well today. It's good to be in Iowa, my home state. It's going to be another great day in Iowa, like every other day.
Let me tell you, it's cold out here. Okay, so I forget about this. I'm a Kansan, and when you go just a little bit north to Iowa, you can get some chilly winds in September. So we're going to stop at Walmart, and I'll buy some more clothing or
mittens. You need some mittens.
That's right.
Some camouflage. It'll be good.
But Ian, we are going to be going all throughout Iowa for the next 3 days, and we're really pumped about it. You know, when you've been stuck in the swamp and, hearing all the dreary news about what's going on in the country, it's very easy to get depressed and down and to feel demotivated about the election. And just remember, that's the desire, to make you feel like the race is not winnable, to make you feel like your vote won't matter, and to demoralize you. And you know what happens when you get out on the road, Matt? And you've experienced this.
Yeah,
it's a whole different world.
I was here last week as well, doing a couple events, and was able to talk to a lot of motivated folks that are excited about where this country's heading, as long as we get 4 more years of Donald Trump.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So where are we going?
Well, today we're in Sioux City today, and we head over then to Fort Dodge, Mason City. We work our way sort of then south to the Des Moines area tomorrow, and then we conclude in eastern Iowa. So we're sort of all over the state. We're starting west and moving east, and it's almost like RAGBRAI, which is the annual bike ride across Iowa, where you start on the Missouri River by dipping your back wheel in the Missouri River, and you put your front wheel in the Mississippi River. I think we could probably do that with the bus today.
So we're literally looking at the mighty Missouri River. And we'll end at the mighty Mississippi. And demographically, Iowa kind of changes. My understanding is when you're in the West, you get kind of like that hardcore conservative voter, and when you get to the East, a lot more Catholics, a lot more swing voters. Give me a better understanding.
So Western Iowa has bigger farms traditionally. The way the state was settled east to west, and as it spread out, it becomes less and less populated, bigger farms. The towns are a little more spread out, and Eastern Iowa, you're right, is there are more factories, there's more blue collar workers. It's actually surprisingly as the country sort of flipped demographically, where the blue collar, hardworking Americans found their home with Donald Trump. That's where Iowa actually flipped from being sort of a purple state traditionally to becoming more of a reliable red state. In 2018, Governor Reynolds was reelected. She's a Republican. And I think a lot of that was from the strength of the working people here in Iowa that know that China policy matters, that know that we've been sort of taken advantage of for too long by the Chinese, and when Joe Biden voted to allow them into the World Trade Organization and all the bad mistakes and the pro-China agenda that he represents, I think Iowans recognize that Donald Trump has done more for the Iowa farmer, the Iowa worker, than anybody has ever done before.
I did a quick deep dive onto the votes from the past couple of elections. As you alluded to, Trump won this in 2016, walloped Hillary Rodham Clinton by 10 points, 51 to 41%, and beat her by 150 votes. The 2 times it went for Obama, first against Romney and McCain, it went for Obama twice. Those vote margins were significantly less, even if the percentages seem further apart. It comes down, you're looking at 100,000 votes there in those last 2 elections. So somewhere between 100K and 150K are going to swing this one way or the other. You said a little bit, General Whitaker, about the qualities of that Iowa swing voter that shifted it from purple now to a solidly red state. Who is that perfect swing voter that you guys are out there trying to identify and trying to talk to and make sure that they turn out for our side this time around?
Yeah, well, it's a lot of the people that I grew up with. I grew up outside of Des Moines, Iowa, and it's the people that worked at the John Deere plant that makes harvesting equipment. It's the folks that own the auto repair business and have 4 or 5 employees. It's the small business owner who has been took advantage of this economy. COVID hit. They were able to make it through, and they know that the president is going to, if given the chance, build it back even stronger. And so, I think it's the farmers that, again, they see what the president's doing with China and is doing with South Korea and opening up markets for their products, and going after the European Union on some of their unfair trade practices and the protection of their businesses and industries. So I think it's just, Iowans are a very sophisticated voting base. They know how to judge horse flesh. They've seen every politician every 4 years since Carter come through this state, and they're just very sophisticated. And I think you have to explain to them, and they understand, and they're well read, and you explain to them why Donald Trump and his policies differ and are better than Joe Biden. And
let me jump in on this. The other thing I think that's true about Iowa is it skews a little more senior. So when you see some of these polls that show that Donald Trump maybe is not doing as well with seniors at this point in the race as he was last time, first of all, I don't believe that. So when those seniors come back and the numbers look better with seniors for Donald Trump, you'll see some of these states, his lead will expand. I think that's one of the reasons why in Iowa you're seeing these polls that show it tighter than the race is. And Iowa tends to also be a little more veteran heavy, people that have been in the military who really respect what the president has done with being constrained, peace through strength with our military and also the VA. Do you agree with those?
I absolutely agree. And a couple just footnotes on that. Iowa has proudly had one of the highest participation rates in military of any state going back to the Civil War. And I spent
do they like the attack on cops? My guess is probably not.
They are very pro law enforcement, and something that I'm going to be talking about this whole tour is how we need to back the men and women in blue. And I spent a couple days with some Iowa seniors who happen to be my parents, and they're unflinching in their support for Donald Trump, and they know why they're supporting him. And I think you're right. I think Iowa is a very it is classic America. If you look at sort of the Rust Belt and sort of Pennsylvania, really all the way over to the Dakotas, you see kind of what the impact of good economic times is and can be. And you also see that if we somehow got back to an Obama-Biden economy and start talking about transgender bathrooms, and I don't want to go back to those 8 years because it was pretty bleak, I think, for a lot of Americans.
Your hands start to shake.
And, you look at kind of for me and not for thee, the Nancy Pelosi world where the elites, and again, if you look at socialism, and I know this is something, Matt, you've studied, if you look at socialism, it's exactly what Nancy Pelosi engendered, and that is that the elites and the people in power get access to things while the rest of us are left standing in line.
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, Ian, that plays right into the law enforcement message, because the whole idea of a law that has the respect of the people is when it's evenly applied. Right. And Mercy experienced this in talking to all of her relatives, and you have wonderfully important Cuban Americans who are close to you, who fled a system where the elites stole everything, took everything, didn't follow the rules, but then put this, these terrible autocracy on the people. The other thing I think that's important in Iowa that I preluded to, which is in my role in working with Catholic supporters for Trump, it's amazing to watch Catholics for Biden. I really don't know what they're going to talk about. He just picked a vice presidential partner who literally went after any Catholic nominees who were a member of the radical group known as the Knights of Columbus. Now, these are not knights that wield swords that go attack people in our cities like Antifa. These are knights that wear kind of, honorary swords, symbolic swords and do good in our communities. They encourage men to be better fathers, better husbands, to stay close to the church and to their Lord. That is considered radical by Kamala Harris.
And it's inconsistent with the BLM agenda of eliminating the family and eliminating fathers and making everyone dependent on the state.
Well, it's funny. I watched the U.S. Open last night with all the Black Lives Matter stuff, and I didn't get the messaging that actually it's anti-family, anti-capitalism, no corporate profits, tear down statues of Jesus and Mary. You don't really get that messaging in sports these days. That's really, we need to make sure people understand that.
We do, and I think this is the insidious nature of these movements that are slogan movements, but actually have a machine behind them, $1 billion machine that is, somebody compared it. Remember the Rainbow Coalition with Jesse Jackson and how they supported BLM is the successor to that enterprise, which is essentially it is to vacuum up corporate money with the threat of a boycott, with the threat of if you don't comply, we will punish you, and it's quite frankly it's un-American. It's un-American. It is trying to quiet and silence voices, especially that are center right, like you and I, and I think this is where good people need to stand up, and this is the time to stand up and fight for the very soul of our country.
Where do these street movements end, gentlemen? It's 100 days of rioting and unrest in Portland, Oregon. Lots of other cities have been experiencing here in Washington, D.C., New York, Chicago. It spilled into not just looting and setting things on fire, but outright violence and murder in some cases. There's this working theory that if the Republicans lose, if Joe Biden wins, then we will go back to normal and peace in our streets. I'm getting this sense that this goes on well beyond and is bigger than the election. How's it end?
Well, I'm going to be cynical, but I'm going to also be realistic, and I'm going to tell you what's really going to happen. The day after, if Joe Biden were to win, which I do not believe he will win, I feel quite confident that Donald Trump's going to win. But let's just say Joe Biden can make this thing happen for him with all this ridiculous mail-in voting fraud. Let's call it for what it is. Fraud, by the way, it's illegal behavior. If he were to win, I believe coronavirus will drop off the headlines as they begin to realize what's the real situation with coronavirus. I also believe that the cities will stop being burned as Black Lives Matter Incorporated, Antifa, and the rest of these feel satiated by the fact that the socialists are in charge. I do think that all of this kind of unrest that's being pushed on Trump will end because I believe there are good people that reacted to the death of George Floyd, like all decent people did. Yeah. Then there was the use of it to try to have literally a revolution in this country, to justify this ridiculous mail-in voting, to change all the voting rules in these socialist-run states, to try to get the people of America into a panic over the state of things. Literally, Joe Biden criticizing the president for an economic downturn that they all mandated happened because of the concerns over the virus. I mean, it's amazing stuff.
It is, and it's remember what Rahm Emanuel once told us: never let a crisis go without taking advantage of it. But I think what I'm seeing is you see cities, Portland, Seattle, Minneapolis, Chicago. They've been run by the left and by extreme leftists really for decades. And what they've done is they've taken power away from the police. They're trying to defund the police now. And I'm not sure, Matt, I'm going to take the opposite view on whether it stops. I actually see this as a movement that has sort of gone outside of its banks. It is now, I think they're going to continue no matter who wins, because the change that they want is a very radical change. It is chaos. It is anarchy in our streets. And really almost pointless to this because Portland has completely, I mean, they've given them everything they want. They have their socialist almost utopia.
And of course Oregon. It doesn't work.
And it doesn't work. And in fact, they would, I think the CHOP zone, if you remember that in Seattle, which was dismantled finally after the mayor who was sympathetic to their interests, finally said this has got to go. I think that they want that in every city, every suburb. They keep trying to make people feel uncomfortable by rioting and making sort of outdoor diners now are suddenly chased off, and small businesses
and why
are
because
disrupted.
the diners and the restaurants just get open in these big cities with socialist mayors, and they don't want them open.
Right.
Because if they're open, people are going to feel better,
Yeah.
and they're going to socialize, and the economy's going to start to grow, and that's exactly the opposite of what they want to happen.
Yeah.
Ian, we got to turn this over to you. I want everyone to know that we're on this very luxurious bus. I know it's pretty awesome. It's like a tour bus.
We're Matt and I get to feel like rock stars for a couple days as we tour Iowa.
And it's awesome. It goes way back that way. We have a great driver. We have a great crew here from the campaign. I don't know how many stops we have over the next 3 days. It's a lot.
It's a lot of stops. This is going to be, if you want a driving tour of Iowa, and I feel like I'm going to have to host this because I know sort of all the little stories about every single town in Iowa. This is the tour you want to be a part of, because it is. We're going to see just almost everything.
Ian, if you want to follow us, and if those of you watching want to follow us, go to Team Trump Tour online and follow us on Twitter. We'll be sending out tweets and Facebook posts throughout the day.
Follow Matt at Team Trump Tour online and see what it's like in Iowa as they make their dozen or so stops today off of the tour bus. How's the crowd reception been so far, gentlemen? Have you been enthusiastically received, or are the rioters coming out to stop you?
Well, it was really exciting this morning. Jonathan met us, and it went really well. But we're literally, Ian, we're just getting started. Literally, we're starting off the tour of Iowa with CPAC Live. Literally, in a couple of minutes, we're going to open up this door, and Penny Nance is going to join us, and some others. And we're going to start to tour the state. Now, if we get protesters, we will for sure let you know.
You're going to buy him donuts, Matt Schlapp. I know you.
In Nevada, the police kept coming over to the bus to make sure there weren't any problems. And every time they ended up coming over with us and taking a group photo. It even happened at the Democrat-controlled governor's mansion. The security came out to shoo us off. And then when they realized we were with Trump, they all took a picture with us. I know we're the people, if you love a cop or you are a cop, I have a feeling I know how you're going to vote this time.
I'm not a Midwesterner, as you guys know. My wife is a Midwesterner, and she tells me that, Iowa is adjacent to Minnesota and all of these other states. Do you think there's going to be any folks coming in from other states to get a glimpse of the guys are up?
Yeah, my guess is we're going to have people coming in to check it out, because there is this pent-up demand. You can see with these motorcades that are everywhere, there's a pent-up demand to tell all of this ridiculous fake news and the fake polling that the fake news pays for, that they respect and love what their president's doing.
You find a lot of
I guess they're coming on.
the folks are boarding, requesting permission to come aboard. A lot of the folks I imagine you'll run into are going to come fully decked out. They'll have their red hats on. They'll have their flags waving. Do you view that as a reflection of the enthusiasm gap? We just had the big boatcade down here on the Potomac River on Sunday. Hundreds and hundreds of very vocal supporters. Matt Schlapp, you and I have often talked about how the polling numbers are skewed because folks might be reluctant to express their support for the party and President Trump. Do you think that that's changing here 55 days out with all of the flags, with all of the outright enthusiasm and visible support for the president you're seeing?
Yeah, the problem with pollsters and polls is people view it as a reality check on where the race is, where the ballot is on the race, right? And that's not what polling should be about. What polling does is give you a roadmap to victory. So when I see the polls, even a lot of these fake polls, these nationwide polls, which you really should discard, at least on the ballot, but get into the poll. The enthusiasm for Donald Trump is always at least a third higher. They're skewed Democrat underperforming. They call too few Republicans and too many Democrats, sometimes by 10 points. And when you see the issues that people care about, the economy and law and order, right, which are wrapped up together, because we'll never be able to bring the economy back if there's, fires and murders in our streets. So these issues voters view as very combined, and overwhelmingly they believe Donald Trump is the right guy to bring the economy back, because Joe Biden, who isn't kind of with it, is just going to go back to the Obama team and implement all those Obama regulations, which will never allow this economy to come back. We literally, I hate to do this, but we got to get rolling.
We're going wheels up here.
We got to roll.
You're doing it? Okay, well then we'll cut it off. We'll be sure to check in with you guys later today. Remember, where do we go? We go Team Trump Online to follow the fellas.
That's
on
right.
the bus. And of course, both Matt Schlapp and Matthew Whitaker are on Twitter. We want you to follow them. Did we send you with any of these America versus Socialism bumper stickers?
Yeah.
Be sure to hand those out to all of our friends out there.
We know that President Trump is the leader, and the race is about reelecting the leader, but the cause was always about saving America.
I have real trouble even believing that Democrats in Iowa are okay with the socialist direction that party has taken. Folks, you fellas, you're doing God's work. We are rooting for you. We are praying for you. Go out there, work your tails off, and get it done. Send us more of those thumbs up photos, and we'll be right back here with some final thoughts on CPAC Live.
Proud and great citizens like you helped build this country, and together we are taking back our country. We are returning power to you, the American people. With your help, your devotion, and your drive, we are going to keep on working. We are going to keep on fighting, and we are going to keep on winning, winning, winning. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together with the incredible people of North Carolina, we will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, North Carolina.
Folks, that was a lot of fun getting to talk with Matt Schlapp and Matt Whitaker, those two fine Americans and defenders of the Constitution. I get a lot of emails every day, and my friend Michael Pelka sends me his run of show notes for all of the radio producers that he stays in contact with, and included in it are what happened on this day in history. On this day in history, September 9th, it's a Wednesday in 2020. In 1786, George Washington called for the abolition of slavery in 1786. Let's try to remember that as we watch what's happening across America. Also in 1976, Mao Zedong passed away. Speaking of 20th century slavery, the Communist Party in China's founder, the godfather of that movement, Mao Zedong, passed away in 1976. George Washington, Mao Zedong, two men. Again, a lot of people think that this election is about two men. It's about Donald J. Trump versus Joe Biden. It does appear that way. And when we go to the ballots, we're going to be casting our votes for, most of us, for one or the other of those individuals. I'll tell you, folks, it's much deeper than that. It's broader than that. It's not just about two men wrestling with one another. This is a question about what kind of country do you want to live in? What kind of future do you want your children to enjoy? It's about, and pick these up here at conservative.org, it's about America versus socialism, folks. Go to conservative.org, pick out your bumper stickers, pick up your yard signs. Remember that this is much bigger than anything that the media tells you. They'd have you believe it's about Kamala Harris wearing Chucks at various events, or that it's about Jeff Zucker's Michael Cohen tapes, or Cohen going on Rachel Maddow or something. Keep the eyes on the prize, folks. The struggle is real. The struggle continues, and the struggle is for the soul of our nation. You've got a role to play. We've got a role to play. If we stick together, I think we can get this done here in 55 days, but it will require all of us leaning in and doing everything that we can to talk to our neighbors, talk to our friends, talk to our family members, and make sure that come November 3rd, we're out there driving the vans, that we're out there picking people up and making sure that they go and participate in this radical experiment in self-governance called American democracy. Until then, we'll see you on Friday. We'll have some great guests for you. And thanks for sticking around with us on another edition of CPAC Live.